This episode of the Party Loaded podcast is proudly sponsored by Audible.com. Check out their awesome catalogue of audiobooks with over 180,000 titles to choose from. And be sure to grab a free audiobook on us and support the show by visiting audibletrial.com/endgame.
Let's party.
Welcome, one and all, to the Party Loaded podcast for... No, I'm not going to continue that for a whole episode. All right, it is Wednesday, the 31st of October. It is Halloween. This is your weekly hit of everything great in the world of video games. I'm one of your hosts, Luke Retallick, partying up tonight with the Halloween crew. We've got CPB. That one's for you, Jimmy. Christian Paulson Brown, welcome back. Hello.
Yay, I'm here to talk about games.
That's it. We got tons. We got Jam to talk about more games. Hello.
Yeah.
And we also have Matt, Game Dad, Diet,
Hello.
back in the saddle. That's a horse joke. There's going to be a few of those in the coming weeks, I can promise you.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's it. All right. All right. Well, anyway, let's ride into this episode, and I'll pause that for now and do a whole bunch later. Horse puns are going to be fun. All right. So, welcome back, guys. It's good to be back behind the mics. We had a couple of weeks break because we had some stuff on. But yeah, back to talk about gaming, and we'll talk a whole bunch about PAX later tonight. But until then, what's been going on? Christian, you held down the fort while we were off gallivanting around the east coast of Australia. So
That's right.
What's the haps?
So while you were all gallivanting at PAX, I was distracting myself by traveling back in time to ancient Egypt. I have now finished Assassin's Creed Origins, which I just started when we last recorded.
Well done. That's a good effort.
And I remember what I was saying last we were recording was I was kind of lukewarm on it. The controls didn't feel so good and I wasn't really invested. But coming out the other end of it, and I actually freaking loved it. I thought it was one of my one of my favorite games of the year so far, actually.
Wow. Interesting.
And it's for a couple of reasons. Like, I think firstly, the main character, Bayek, he's just an awesome, really well-written character. He's like a very nice guy with a good sense of humor, and one of the main cruxes of the story is that his son is killed early on. It's like the sort of instigating moment is his son dying, and unlike in some other games, Fallout 4, where a family member's death is kind of forced upon you and you're told to feel sad about it. This game does a really good job of actually making you feel the emotions, and the voice acting and the mocap is just really powerful. And throughout the course of the game, you see Bayek's personality and how he must have been as a father, showing through in a lot of little interactions. You really learn about him through how he treats others. If any time in the story other children are involved, he's a very caring man, and he's always wanting to protect children, and there's some short flashbacks, and he's always kind of got an inner monologue where he's thinking about his son. It's very tragic, and he's also a very pious man. He's very devoted to the ancient Egyptian gods, but not in a cheesy way. It's a very you feel that he uses the religion to try and sort of cope with his sadness. No, but it's really good. And then other than that, the actual open world blew me away with how immersive it is. And normally in games, even Spider-Man, we heaped praise upon, but the actual city itself, other than seeing a few landmarks or Easter eggs from Avengers, that sort of stuff, the city itself wasn't particularly diverse or interesting. Whereas in an open world game like Origins, I really did want to go and explore every little question mark on the map, because it's always something interesting. The map is filled with locations, and there's ancient temples and camps and little towns and oases, and there's brilliant environmental storytelling, and it never felt like any sort of area in the map was boilerplate, just sort of copied. Everything felt organic and interesting to explore. and like the wildlife system and the weather system's really good. It's just very, very nice to roam around in.
Wasn't there an add-on DLC which was more of a historical sort of tour around the landmarks of Egypt? I seem to remember something about that. Yeah.
There's like the Discovery Tour. So there's like 4 different like episodes, I guess you'd call them. I haven't played around with it too much, but they're completely like combat free, and they're guided tours as well. So there's like audio dialogue that will like guide you, like walking through a virtual museum, and it will like explain different things about ancient Egyptian culture and religion and the people to you, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, and because you can tell the care they've gone to in recreating some of the landmarks, and with the on the historical side of it, like I'm a huge history nut. Like I love history; it's one of my biggest passions. Along with gaming, and I was super happy to discover that this game's actually set in it's actually right at the end of what we'd call ancient Egypt, like just before the like Roman occupation, and like it's around the time of like Julius Caesar and Cleopatra, and kind of one of the more famous moments in Egyptian history. Well, a lot of people don't realize about that time is that there was already a massive like Greek and Hellenic influence on Egypt at that time. So the old ways of like pharaohs and Horus and Osiris and all that sort of stuff, that was already ancient to these people. And and because that was actually like at the time Origins is set, the pyramids were built like nearly 3,000 years before it.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, to the people in Origins, the pyramids are actually older than the setting of Origins is to us. Like, it's already that far in the past.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And so, like, there's, like, the ruins are already ruins. So, like, the pyramids and the Sphinx and everything, they're already ruins.
So we don't get the retelling of the story of how the Sphinx lost its nose or any shit like that?
No.
Good.
But it's really interesting to see some of these landmarks in, like, an intermediate period where they're like the pyramids of Giza still have, like, like white paint on them and like a marble like cap on the top and things like that, but they're already abandoned tombs. And just as a history nut, like I love just seeing this period of history and brought to life. And yeah, so even just playing the game itself felt like a tour for me.
Yeah. So I have a couple of questions for you just on what you've mentioned. So
yes.
On the story stuff, like the particularly the morality sort of through lines with the plot, is that something that you actually have any agency over, like choosing sort of, I guess, morally positive or morally negative outcomes in a similar way to like the dialogue choices in other games would allow you to be like a good or an evil character? Or is that just part of the through line?
You don't, yeah. It's more a game which is telling its story. So like the actions of Bayek and the sort of assassinations and the killings that you do, it's a story of vengeance, of like getting revenge for his son. But then it evolves from there, and it's not wholly original in that it's sort of a how far do you go for vengeance kind of thing. Like how many people do you have to kill until you're satisfied? And if one thing leads to another, and it kind of blossoms a bit out of control. But the main character's married, but to like another kind of assassin type character, and there's a really interesting like conflict between them as a couple, and she is more of like the kill everybody, do what you have to do sort of thing, and he's more compassionate and like doing it more for like emotion, and she's doing it more for, I guess, like a bigger picture,
right,
where she wants to like free Egypt of foreign influence, whereas it's more personal for him. I don't want to get into it too much, but no, you can't sort of make any choices. But I think that's fine. I think that the story they want to tell is powerful in the way that they tell it. And unlike Odyssey, I have read that in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you can start to make some choices where there's like dialogue options in there. Yeah,
that was one of the big sort of selling points of it, from what I remember.
That's actually super interesting because there's always the modern day story going on in Assassin's Creed as well. And I'm one of the weirdos who actually really likes that. I've always really dug it and how like sort of mysterious it is. And one of the things in Origins is at the end of Origins, this isn't really a spoiler because it's like post-game, collect all these things and then you get like a little message. It kind of hints that the modern day character's animus, like the machine that she uses to go back in time, that hers is like special in some way, and that she could possibly be able to like rewrite history with it.
Oh.
Yeah, like it's saying that like you've just being an observer, but might be possible to like alter it. And
That
so
would explain it then,
Yeah, and so I haven't played Odyssey, but I'm hoping that that's what's going on in Odyssey, is that they've actually written the dialogue system into the like plot of the game, in that you are influencing history. I think that'd be really cool.
Also, it could be like what they did with X-Men, and it could be a really soft way to reboot the franchise.
Yes, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, how many hours as well did you end up sinking?
I clocked in like 45.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I put in a bit of time to it, but I still didn't do everything. Like there's over 100 quests, and they're all fully voiced and mocapped. Like there's no just like generic kill Bob in this camp quest. Every single quest in the game is a unique story, and I didn't get through all of them, and so there's still tons more for me to do.
So no bare butts.
And another thing I wanted to mention about the quests too is that there's a really cool system of like linking different quests together. So you'll go to a new town, and then there'll be like kind of an overarching theme, some bigger story going on in that town. And as you complete quests, you'll notice that they are actually characters are crossing over between the quests. And if you do a couple in the area, it'll unlock new quests that kind of lead on from the ones you've done. And it's kind of sort of branching bigger storylines in each town.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
So I guess after the year off that they took prior to Origins to kind of get the Assassin's Creed franchise back on track, now they've had Origins and they've had Odyssey, both of which have been critically pretty
really
well
good,
received. Yeah, and now we've got another year break while they do the next entry in the franchise. Do you think it's safe to say at this point that Assassin's Creed is back?
I think Assassin's Creed's back, and I think that because I played tons of the old games, and they've dropped so much of the crap that was getting way overdone in those games. Like there's no like extra systems about like managing a team and setting them out on missions or bomb crafting or things like that. And there's not even wanted levels. Like when you run away from guard, it's much more streamlined and simple. There's absolutely no like social stealth in the game, which used to be a big thing in the Assassin's Creed, is blending into crowds, sitting on benches, things like that. That's all gone. Like it's much more straightforward.
Is there base building?
There's no base building.
Oh.
No.
So you can't build a pyramid and deck it out with traps. That's a little bit.
No, you can't. But I like that. I like how streamlined it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, back to its roots.
Yeah, they were getting a bit feature bloaty.
Well, I kind of want to play that now. That's added to the
I highly
pile.
recommend it. Yeah.
I bought it on sale on Steam ages ago, and I have not put a single minute into it. It's just been sitting on my Steam account.
One of those.
Yeah,
I think-
I really want to.
I think a lot of people write off Assassin's Creed because there is so much franchise fatigue. But if this game was just like completely unrelated to Assassin's Creed, and it was just like ancient Egyptian open world third person game, then I think more people might have given it a look. But
Cool.
You have to kind of wonder how much the Assassin's Creed brand is actually hurting some of the more recent games.
I think it's probably still pulling more people towards it than not. But I'm sure there's a lot of people who it is pushing away.
Yeah. Well, maybe pulling more towards it now as a result of a couple of good wins as well. Yeah.
Anyway, that's my rant about how much I love Assassin's Creed Origins.
It was a good rant. It was a real good rant. Yeah. Well, Matt, with your copy that you've already purchased, it's not like there's anything else that's going to be competing for your time over the coming weeks, is there? You can just jump straight in.
Nothing at all. It's not like I bought God of War as well while I was over in Melbourne.
Holy shit, dude. You are lost. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we had another big shadow sort of cast over the last week, which we've only just now started getting to grips with. So, of course, while we were gone, a little game called Red Dead 2 launched. And Christian completely, didn't make the most of the opportunity and was playing Assassin's Creed instead, which is totally fine.
I was very conscious of Red Dead on the horizon, and even talking about Assassin's Creed just then, I can feel the shadow of Red Dead just moving over me going, good open world game, huh? Really? Huh? Okay.
That's awesome. All right, well, Matt got back later than Jam and I think you've just started or finished loading it at the moment, haven't you? So
yes.
Getting
it's
ready
all
to
installed.
Yeah.
It's ready to go.
Ready to go. Nice, I like it. All right. Yeah. So we don't want to talk too much tonight because I think we probably need some real chance to let it simmer properly. But Jam, I think you and I are probably at a point where we can at least offer some opening impressions. What do you reckon?
I love it.
Yep.
Chapter 1 is a big, long tutorial, which is great. It introduces you to, the mechanics, the differences, the crew. But chapter 2 hit and I got to just disappear into the wilderness, and I did immediately, to the point where I lost my horse at one point, but that was, only brief. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I've realized, having stopped playing, because I had it downloading overnight because I got in yesterday from Melbourne and I started playing it today. I think when I get back on, I have to figure out how to switch off the map so that my screen is uninterrupted, so that I can just absorb the environment, the scenery.
Have you heard about what happens when you switch the map off?
Yeah, I was going to say.
I have heard stuff happens. I want to see it. I forgot about it until I switched it off to get ready for this. And then I went, oh yeah, I need to do that, because I was appreciating how low-key the UI is, particularly, having played GTA, and the GTA map's just insane now when you're online. It's just full of symbols, colors, go here, go there, do this, do that. Red Dead's just beauty. and it's brutal too. It's not super intuitive in that, like, I'm fighting my horse sometimes to do certain things. I try and take a corner too fast and he has a bit of a sook, or he trips on a rock. He's thrown me once, and all of the game that I'd hunted down, that I'd attached to the saddlebags, fell off, and I had to pick it up and calm him down. And it's not necessarily, because this is, the Wild West. These people are on the lam. They are struggling and there's difficulties. And I love that I'm also not having an easy time. Like, I'm not finding it difficult, but it's evident in the way I have to play, that I have to take a little care, not rush things. I can't just treat it like a video game, because there's sort of little consequences, like interesting ones, and I'm loving it.
I suspect that the horses are going to be the source of a lot of shenanigans in this game.
I've already seen some GIFs.
Yeah.
There's so much that can go wrong.
My favorite one that I've seen is somebody trying to get on their horse, and a person passes by right nearby. And because the button to get on the horse is also the button to throw punches, they just randomly tackle this random passerby.
So focusing on the thing, the person, the creature that you want to interact with is key. That helps a lot.
Yeah.
I actually failed a mission earlier today because there was a dude that I had to protect while I was sort of riding around doing the mission. And then we pulled back out into town. And as I was dismounting, I'm not sure exactly what happened. I think I might have accidentally kicked him in the head as I was dismounting. And as a result of him being harmed, I failed the mission. I was like, oh, what the fuck?
Oh, no.
Glorious.
Yeah, but no. The funniest thing that's happened to me with regards to the horse stuff is that I accidentally jumped onto the wrong horse while I was in town, and yeah, the dude who owned the horse went nuts. So I had to get into a fist fight with him and just knocked his teeth out. And then of course the local law frowns on that kind of behaviour. So yeah, someone called the sheriff, ended up in a big gunfight, and killed like half the town.
Oh my god!
Yeah, had to try and escape.
You monster! And
as I was escaping, the horse that I'd stolen tripped down a gorge and I died. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool. So I'm trying to do essentially the Paragon run. We'll see how I go, but the horse thing, it's real, and I'm loving it. It's your lifeline. It stores all your weapons, and if you don't gear up from the horse and walk away, you don't have your weapons and your gear. You can only carry so much on your person. You can't get around without getting in trouble and stealing stuff without your horse. It's such a crucial thing. And I've realized, you can calm it down, you can pat it, you can build your rapport with it. But there's a grayed out option for me at the moment that says brush, and I can't find a horse brush anywhere, and I just want to brush my horse.
Yeah, don't worry, the story gets you there.
I figured it would, but I've sort of run away from the story, so I might have to go back.
Yeah. Without spoiling anything for you, there's a part of that you're required to make a decision during with regards to what you want to do with your horse, and I regret the decision I made, so save it before you do that.
Did you cook
your
it?
horse?
No, I didn't cook my horse. What kind of monster do you think I am?
I feel like we both went to the same place, Jen.
Yeah, that's because he's a monster.
Jesus.
I'm loving the animal life, the wildlife. There are so many different types, and they're subtle, and you don't notice them, and it's hard to spot them until they flee. So you can't study them for your little. What's the word? I can't word to that. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold
journal?
from Melbourne. Yeah, like a journal of a collection of information about the animals. So what you have to do, if you're not stealthy enough, I'm assuming my skill level will improve. If I can't sneak close enough because I'm spooking them anyway, because I suck, I have to shoot them in order to gather the information from my journal. So
Wait,
I'm
hang
murdering
on.
a lot
You're
of
shooting
animals.
to put notes in your journal, and you're accusing me of cooking horses. Come
Well,
on.
the horse is your friend. It's your bestie. That's monstrous. This is just wildlife. This is necessity. I bring it back to camp. It's all for the greater good.
You're cataloging the wildlife.
Yeah, and the skins and the meat go to help my folk who are hungry and stuff. Totally.
I'm gonna say, like, Luke is totally justified in killing all of those towns of people because he can just draw them into a book now, and it's all just for his journal. So
Fair. Good cataloging, Luke. Good cataloging.
then he can take their skin and their meat.
This tavern wench went down real fast. 2 shots to the head and she was done.
Giggity.
Bonzo.
So this is our new word for wanton murder now, cataloging.
Oh, God.
What have we begun? Oh my God. Well, I think we don't want to get drawn into an episode-long discussion about the game tonight, so there'll be time for that later. But I'm really enjoying it at the moment as well. It is a game that has a lot of mechanics that are disguised very well under the surface, I think.
Yes, that's what I love.
Yeah.
Because all I want to see is the pretty trees and hunt the wildlife.
Yep, it's real
Everything
good.
else is background.
Well, speaking of gorgeous backgrounds, there is another game that I want to chat about, which I got the chance to play for the first time this morning. So the Fallout 76 Break It Early Test Access is live, and there's some limited windows of which you can sort of jump in and test it out, and I managed to jump on one of those this morning, and I think it may be one of the only ones I get to jump on because the times at which they've made it available are not real good for us Aussie players. God damn it. So
I will be attempting the wee hours of Friday morning.
Yeah.
I have it installed and ready to go, fingers crossed.
That's it. I think Friday might be okay. But anyway, so opening impressions are super solid. I think this game is going to be very, very good. So,
oh, hooray!
Yeah, posted a bunch of pictures on the Twitter about the different things that I sort of experienced and got up to the opening sort of scene when you get out there and actually have to go through the vault before you exit. Sort of allows you to, acclimatize to the basic functions of the game and picking up sort of some supplies that you'll use to craft your base and, your rataways and basic food and that kind of thing. And then you exit. And I picked up one of those special perk cards before leaving as well. And I had a choice over which one I sort of got. So I think that when you go through the character creator and then sort of actually exit your first upgrade, you kind of get to choose whatever you want. And then from that point onwards, I think it'll be a little bit more difficult to sort of upgrade different areas of your tree. I have no idea how that's going to work. I'm really curious to find out. But it's feeling a lot like Fallout 4, and this may be a little bit of bias creeping in for the fact that I only played Fallout 4 on console and not on PC, and I know that people played it later on PC, but this game on PC is fucking good. It's perfect platform for it because it's your basic sort of running around, full agency over your crosshairs, like being able to aim properly. The WASD controls are spot on for this kind of game, and I actually haven't finished Fallout 4, and I'm considering when I eventually do go back to it, I might just buy it on PC because I suspect it might be a more fun game on that platform. But yeah.
So combat's a step up because that's the one thing that had me worried is how clunky Fallout combat usually is, especially when you resort to the VAT system for any kind of accuracy.
Now, VATS is in Fallout 76, but I haven't used it yet, so I can't really speak to that. But I didn't find the combat bad at all. Like, I managed to get myself a machete and craft a basic pipe pistol, and then I went hunting a few sort of small creatures, managed to shoot down a mangy mutant dog that was running at me. It got a couple of bites in, so it was pretty quick, but I managed to shoot it down.
Oh, that sounds fair then.
Yeah. Absolutely fair. Yeah, and, there was a whole bunch of other creatures that I was just out there cataloging, and you know how that story goes.
What about Deathclaw? Did you encounter a Deathclaw?
No, nothing that big. I had limited time because I wasted a lot of my beta window in the character creation menu, which is not surprising.
Fair. Actually, maybe I won't actually get any gameplay on Friday.
Oh, it's okay because everything you do in the beta actually carries through to the main release, so you'll be able to get all that stuff done then. But yeah, like I was a little curious as to how they were going to do the whole sort of missions and objectives thing without having any NPCs in the game. Like, any other humans that were non-player controlled, because that was one of the big things that they were sort of talking about. And I think that the way that they've done it is, do you remember in Fallout 4, the sort of weird spherical robot thing with the arms, the squid-like arms down below?
They're in all of the Fallouts.
Yeah, what was it called? Codsworth or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of them around the place, and they seem to be sort of narrative devices and sort of give you information and bits and pieces.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and there's also some recordings around the place of sort of human characters that have been to places before you that you can kind of listen to, and it gives you information and objectives to pursue. So I suspect that that's going to be how you do it. I did run into another human player when I was playing, and you can kind of trade with them and do stuff.
So you didn't kill each other immediately?
No. I deliberately didn't because I knew that was going to take time.
No
and because,
cataloging?
No, I didn't catalog it. But and also because I suspect that the penalties for doing that in this game are actually going to make it not worth it in the short term. So
that's good. That's what I wanted to hear, because if it was too easy, if nuking an entire settlement or whatever, it's too flippant, then it's not really a Fallout game. There's no lesson to be learned.
There will be PvP. Like, there is no doubt that there'll be PvP, but because of the environment being so harsh, it needs to be like
a difficult decision, I reckon.
Well, yeah, I mean, the difficult decision is that you probably want to work together to actually not die in the environment is really what it comes down to, because you've still got a lot of other things out there that want to catalog you. So you got to be careful.
That sounds more like an MMO than a survival game in some ways. Like survival games like DayZ and that tend to just be an all-out like bloodbath.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of both, to be honest. I think it'll really have elements of both, yeah. But man, the game, like just visually and the exploration stuff, and I looked at the map and I looked at the immediate area that I'd traveled through. This game is huge. It's going to take so long to actually get to every aspect of that map. It is freaking enormous. Yeah, and everything that I went to in the opening sort of hour or so was freaking gorgeous and interesting as hell, and everything I wanted to explore, and I just wasn't going to have time to look at it all. So, I'm going to lose days just roaming around in this thing, just looking at stuff. It's going to be great. And I think that whilst this is a game that could very easily scratch the solo itch, because I think that you could still play it fine solo, roaming around with a bunch of people is going to be fun as hell. So, yeah, looking forward to the full release a lot.
Is there a party limit?
I know there is, but I didn't see what it is. From external information, I believe it's 4 at a time. But I mean, I don't know how that works. You might be able to sort of get a number of people logging into the same instance and just, agreeing to not shoot each other.
Red versus blue, bitch. Take
yeah, exactly. It's going to be fun. But you pick up tons of stuff. You can create your camp. There's a lot of crafting stuff. It feels like Fallout. So that's a big plus.
That's good. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's got me super, super excited. So, yeah. One other game I just wanted to quickly talk about, certainly not a new one by any stretch, but I've never played this game, and I got to experience it for the first time on the plane trip over to PAX. Before I left, borrowed my kid's Switch and managed to sign them up for the Nintendo Online service, which meant that I could download and play some of the old school NES games, and I picked up one that I've never played before, amazingly, the original Legend of Zelda. The OG Zelda. I never started with that. I actually started with Link's Awakening. So playing the first top-down Legend of Zelda was a new experience for me. Like, I've seen plenty of pictures of it before, and I knew roughly what I was in for, but it was real fun playing it for the first time. And I got to say, this game is hard as balls. It is tough.
Yeah. It's hard and it doesn't really tell you much.
No, it doesn't. But I'm kind of loving that part of it. Like, it's it does have some of those old tropes of those video games of that era. Like, when you're going through, you could try and draw a map of this game because it's mostly just sort of screen, link to screen, link to screen. But there are some of those tricks it uses where, like, unless you go through particular screens in a certain order, you do get lost because it treats it like a maze. and sort of warps you to directions that normally wouldn't be logical in the way that it's sort of structured as a map, which is cool because, navigating through like a lost forest shouldn't be as easy as just going, the same direction that you normally go without some sort of, inside knowledge. But the thing that I'm finding makes this game really interesting and perhaps takes a little bit of the challenge off compared to when people would have played it on the NES is that it's got the NES and SNES classic suspend features. So you can literally save your game and suspend it at any point, which means that like I can, if I wanted to, and if I wanted to spend the time doing this, I could actually save the game after each screen and, that way never really have any chance of dying. So that would be a foolish way to play, I think, and would, take a whole bunch of the fun out of it. But there are some places where it's advantageous. In particular, there's a cave where there's an old man that plays like a cups game with you to earn money. And if you want to go in there and basically just earn infinite money, you can just save it before you look under which of the three options he presents you and just always get the one that gets you cash. So, yeah, it's pretty easy to get around it. But yeah, no, so far really enjoying it. I think I've finished about 3 of the dungeons. I'm going to play through the rest and finish it and see what the OG Zelda was like. But that's a good little one to tick off my list in the meantime. So yeah. What else have we got on the list? We got a few other games before we skip to the news. So yeah.
Memo and I both brought our Switches to Melbourne for PAX to play in the apartment when we were off our feet, wiped out. And I got to try Mario Party on Memo's Switch for the first time, and you were there, Luke, for some of it.
I did. It was cool.
It's fun. It's fun. The rhythm games especially I love. They're hilarious, especially, was it the Waluigi, the posing one? Did you see that one?
Oh, the Slapperazzi or...
I can't remember the name. That was one of the... Oh, it's glorious. It's glorious. They've got so many different little mechanics to build, to theme a rhythm type game on, even just like pulling a tablecloth out from under some glasses at a particular beat. It's great.
Really good use of the rumble controls in a lot of those games, I thought.
Oh, yeah. So in the actual board game Mario Party version and also the River Rapids one, which I'm not sure you saw, Luke, the game's broken up by other mini games. And they're all neat, some better than others, but they've all got this unique twist on how to use this one tiny little Joy-Con to manipulate something on screen, and I was just delighted. There was one where you just have a jar full of stones or something, and you've just got to rotate the Joy-Con and shake it to shake the things out of the jar.
Oh, right.
And that sounds super simple, and it's only like a tiny 30-second game. But it's surprisingly complex because you have to twist and shake to get the physics to rattle out the pieces. It's really cute.
It actually sounds a lot like the WarioWare games.
Yes.
Have you played those? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's
You're
just
bang on.
it's like mini game after mini game after mini game, and they're just these tiny little bite-sized mini games. It sounds similar to that, where it's always sort of weird and wacky things you're doing.
Yeah. They're neat, and you can play them and queue them up separately. But when they're sort of interspersed in the board game, which is you've got to get around the board and collect stars, and you need coins to buy stars, and coins can also buy you items to help you move around more. And you can recruit other Mario characters to help you out with your roles. It's really cute. It takes a little bit of patience at times. I know every time I played with Memo, she just got smashed.
Dumped on.
The worst luck.
Yeah.
And I seem to just get all of the good luck. So she was a bit over it pretty quickly. But yeah, they were good fun. And we slowly worked our way towards unlocking different boards as we played over our trip. And at the end, she got is it gems that you unlock?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we ended up unlocking 2 out of 4 gems. I don't know what's going to happen when she gets the other 2.
Yeah, probably just new games.
I grabbed a copy because a whole bunch of people in the apartment I was staying with also bought their Switches, and none of us had Mario Party. So I'll go out and buy Mario Party. And may I just say, Mario Party is the worst game of 2018 because I didn't win at it.
Oh, no. You had the Memo syndrome.
Oh, I had the worst luck. There was a point in the game I made just such a dumb decision, and we all had a huge laugh out of it. So the characters have their own unique dice that they can roll. They have their own little faces and everything on it. And I'm playing Bowser, And Bowser has like 2 dice faces that are like, one of them gives you 3 coins, the other one takes 3 coins away.
One thing
and
I
then everything else
noticed,
is
I was
really
going to say,
high
one thing I
numbers.
noticed about the custom dice faces for various different characters is that the characters that we would normally associate with being evil or bad guys were the ones that had the high risk, high reward ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm playing Bowser, and I have this item that allows me just to take a warp pipe straight over to one of the stars.
Oh.
And I hadn't used it yet because I didn't have the coins for it. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, it's getting towards the end of the game. The AI was having just ridiculously good luck, I say with finger quotes, where the star would constantly move like 2 spaces in front of the AI, and then they turn up at it and be like, oh, cool, a star. I guess I'll buy this right now. So at this
Mario
point...
Party is notoriously rigged.
Yeah.
I think this one's probably a little bit less janky with the BS luck, but it still has a bit of it, obviously. Yeah.
At this point late in the game, I'm like, okay, stuff it. I'm going to use my pipe finally. I teleport over, and it starts your turn after you take the warp pipe. So I'm like, okay, I'll roll the dice. And I completely forgot to swap away from Bowser's dice. And so it pops up, and it's like, -3 coins. And everybody starts laughing because I haven't moved. But the kicker was that where it teleported me, we're playing on this map where this is like this bridge that can get knocked down by a blooper.
Oh, yes. Yep.
I got teleported onto the bridge, and because I ended my turn on that space, the blooper attacked me and knocked me over the map.
Oh,
So
no.
I got knocked right back to where I started. Everybody in the room was losing it, and I'm just sitting there like, okay, fine. I'm just going to go back to JB and return
Didn't
this,
want
I
that
guess.
star anyway.
Shit game, 0 out of 10.
It is like
Yep.
that. I loved it because I did well.
Nice.
I got all the luck.
All right. Well, anything else before we close out week's gaming? A couple of things on the list. Yep.
I briefly played some Super Mario Odyssey on the flight back over because that's one of the other games that I bought while I was at PAX. Because I'm insane. It's really good. The moment I started it up and started playing it, everything, I'm like, wow, this feels so much like Super Mario 64. The attacks with the hat are pretty neat, but I really missed the fact, Mario back in Super Mario 64 punching and kicking. But yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. Like it feels like Super Mario 64, so I can't complain about it. There's a lot more motion controls in there, which I hadn't actually used because I was on a plane. But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it thus far. It's probably one of those games, like unlike Legend of Zelda, where I can just dive into it and play Breath of the Wild for ages. Mario Odyssey is probably one of those games that I'll kind of pick at over time, in my free time, or on the train and that sort of thing. So yeah.
You can still just do a level, in an evening and put it down and do it again. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Who would have thought playing games on the way to and from a gaming convention seems like a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Best.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, speaking of games, let's move on to a very, very quick bit of news for today.
Now it's time to hear some gaming news. Time for some gaming news.
All right.
Yes.
Christian, take us away.
Yep, first up we have Sony finally announced the full lineup for their PlayStation Classic Mini. So this is their little mini PlayStation 1, sort of copying what Nintendo's done or taking inspiration from them. 20 games. I'll just very quickly blast through them. So Battle Arena Toshinden, Cool Borders 2, Destruction Derby, Final Fantasy 7, Grand Theft Auto 1, Intelligent Cube, Jumping Flash, Metal Gear Solid, Mr. Driller, Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, Rayman, Resident Evil 1, Revelations Persona, Ridge Racer Type 4, Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, Siphon Filter Tekken 3, Rainbow Six, Twisted Metal and Wild Arms. So a pretty good spread there of genres and IPs, I feel. But my personal opinion on this lineup is that it's satisfactory. I think it's fine. I think that there are some missing games on there, but I'm sure that the people who were designing it knew that exactly what people wanted, and like licensing agreements or whatever just made some things impossible, or they just had a design philosophy, or they didn't want to put too many of the same kind of genre on, that sort of thing. But I don't know. What do you guys think about the lineup?
Well, it's fortunate that Metal Gear was confirmed. Yeah.
I'm glad Abe's Odyssey's on there. That's an adorable game.
Yeah.
I would have wanted to have seen, there were 3 that I played a bunch of. Cyberdeck, Bug's Life, and Azure Dreams.
Okay.
There were 3 I have mad nostalgia for. That would have been cool, but I think they're a little more,
A little more niche.
yeah, niche.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, where's Crash? Where's Spyro? Blah 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 blah." But those are kind of games that they're already getting like remakes and re-releases.
Yeah.
So
I
you
wouldn't
expect
count
those.
those, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon that what they've done is they've gone and announced that this was a thing they were doing before they actually had a lot of stuff locked down. Because the impression I kind of get from the list is that there's a lot of, well, this wouldn't have been their first choices, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
So
definitely the
you're
impression
going
I
to
get.
announce it, and then who wants in?
They went and announced it, and they were like having discussions with people about licensing, and then a lot of games they were trying to get licensing for just dropped out, and they got stuck with a lot of B-list games. So
I was really glad to see Siphon Filter on the list. I had a lot of good times playing that game, and that's one that
me too.
I was a little unsure whether it would actually make it on or not. The original GTA is an interesting choice. Like, I mean, sure, it's a big name, but I don't know if anyone's massively nostalgic for GTA 1. So,
I feel similarly about Revelations Persona, which is like the very first Persona game, because that franchise has sort of hit mainstream success now. But on PS1, that was super niche. That was like, especially in the West, that was a very like rare game to hear people talk about. So
yeah.
it'd be interesting to actually play.
Yeah. Well, the one that I was hoping against hope would actually appear on there would be one of the Breath of Fire games, like 2 or 3 would have been absolutely perfect. Like, if 2 had been announced, which is one of my favorite JRPGs of all time, I would have jumped out of my seat and run to order this immediately. It would have been that good. But I always knew it was an outside chance, so oh well.
Yeah, the games I'm really disappointed aren't on there are like Tenchu 1 or 2. And
Yes.
no Tenchu, and Bust a Move as well, which is a game that I love on PS1.
That was superb. I think I only ever had a demo of that game, but we played it like to death.
Bust a Move is great.
This just in, Jam likes another rhythm game. I'm shocked.
Da, da, da.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say that Jam actually got to show off her impressive Guitar Hero skills while we were away, and the people who weren't ready for it now know what we've been
I
talking
didn't know you were a rhythm game fan, Jam.
Oh, yes.
She's
we'll
not only a
talk
rhythm
later.
game fan, she's pretty freaking good at them. So,
Okay.
Yeah. All right, anyway.
Love it.
Enough of inflating your ego. No Man's Sky has added a big update this last week, which is a pretty cool thing. So the game's been expanding at a decent clip since the next expansion, and things are continuing well with the addition of The Abyss, which is the probably the biggest expansion since Next came out. And this one's all themed around underwater content. So they've released, basically it's all bundled in with update 1.7. And it's basically added a whole bunch of new underwater biomes, a whole bunch of new creatures. You can see new plants, and there's like in the video, there's this giant monocular sort of mega creature that looks like it's one of those get the hell out of the way of sort of beasties, similar to the whispering eggs of the main No Man's Sky thing. So you probably don't want to get too close or you'll get absolutely destroyed. But new base building parts, you can actually build a proper underwater base now as well, and a new submersible sort of exocraft that you can use. But yeah, no, it looks really, really cool. So
It does.
yeah,
I happened to catch the same flatback as V, and she was just mildly amused that the weather was turning bad on the weekend, which was going to cancel her camping trip, which meant she could have more time for No Man's Sky.
Oh, what a shame.
What a pity.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Not surprised by that at all. Yeah.
Well, speaking of things in space, there was a new expansion announced for Stellaris, which is Megacorp.
Mm-hmm.
And for anybody that hasn't heard me rant about Stellaris already, Stellaris is like absolutely one of my favorite games of all time, so I'm really excited for this. Like the robot expansion was probably the one where I was the most excited, but Megacorp actually sounds really cool. So as a new Megacorp civilization type, in the same vein, like you have the AI civilizations and you have the hive mind civilizations. And so they get their own perks and everything. Some of the really neat perks in there are like you can make a criminal megacorp, or you can make a religiously themed megacorp, so you can go out and sell your god to the other empires.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah, so you can actually be a religious megacorp. It's really, really neat.
Aren't all of them? No, anyway.
Oh, don't go there.
No, I'm
I mean,
not touching
my personal opinion is why sell your god when you can steal somebody else's? So, you know.
Jeez.
But yeah, like so megacorps are different from every other empire in that so you know how when you're creating an empire in Stellaris, like if you want to be if you can be militaristic, that means you can't be a pacifist, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Megacorps throw that out the window. You can be militaristic and pacifist.
Oh my gosh.
They just break all the rules. It's really cool. At the same time, you can build stuff on other planets. This is coming with a free patch, as they always do. They're completely overhauling the economy and the way that planets work. So it's no longer just this tile map that you get to build stuff on as far as planets. Like there's actually, this is our population, and this is how many of them are working, and this is how many of them are rich, and this is how many of them are politicians, and this is how many of them are scientists. It's completely different. There's like specific slots that you can still build structures in, but it's no longer like I need to build 20 power plants to keep my power up. That's not the impression I'm getting. Trade fleets are a thing now. I have no idea how that's going to work. Yeah, but that's really cool. Because there was a whole thing in there that you can actually buy and sell slaves to fill in population on your planets. They went and announced a big thing where so you can actually have interspecies relationships now in Stellaris. So you can actually research a thing genetics that basically allows, okay, so this alien species and this alien species can now have babies, and they will basically randomly pick one of the parents to say this is what the children look like, and it will actually merge together some of their stats and grab some of their perks and spit out a brand new species basically that uses both of them and gets a whole bunch of additional benefits on top of that. Yeah, it's really neat. Geez, what else did they announce? Ecumenopolis, which is basically you can go and make Coruscant-esque planets that are just gigantic city worlds. You can't get any of the natural resources off them anymore, but they have huge populations. Like, they are just gigantic population centers. Yeah, it's massive. It looks so cool. Paradox, if you're listening, hire me.
It's wildly different from when I last played.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
Oh, yeah.
Stellaris is a good game. Like, I enjoyed it greatly when it came out, but yeah, I agree with you, Jam. I think it'll be unrecognizable now, for sure.
Yeah, gonna have to check it out.
It wasn't that long ago they overhauled shipbuilding and the military mechanics. So the fact that they're overhauling this now, like, yes, if you compare Stellaris after Megacorp comes out to vanilla Stellaris, the only thing that it'll have in common is that it'll look like a strategy game in space, basically. So,
All right.
Wow.
So we had one more thing on the list tonight,
Yes.
which was kind of bubbling away below the surface and could be popping off now. So, Christian...
It is actually, yeah. So 24 hours ago, the Undertale Twitter account fired up and did a series of cryptic tweets asking people to return in 24 hours' time, and that there would be some sort of news, presumably, or maybe an announcement. And then it was exactly 24 hours ago, and as we're recording, there's been a new string of cryptic tweets, and it seems to be leading up to something. It's every 3 minutes so far, and it said, "Thank you for waiting so long. After all, you and I, we have both been waiting such a very long time. So to be here finally on the verge of connection is quite exciting. I look forward to creating a new future with you." So I don't know exactly what's going on, but I am a big Undertale fan, and any sort of announcement type thing will be exciting to me. It'll all be in the past by the time this podcast comes out, but yeah.
Well, we
I'm just
can
saying
circle
right now-
back around at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
but I'm just saying right now, every 3 minutes they're popping this up. Half-Life 3 confirmed.
Oh, dear.
If I had to guess, I'd say it's going to be maybe showing off some like previews or ideas for a new project, because some of the earlier tweets yesterday said, "I have a small favor to ask you. Return here in 24 hours. At that time, I will ask you a few questions. Then using your responses, we will approach its realization. Thank you for your time. I will be in contact again soon." So saying like, I'm going to ask questions and then using your responses, we'll approach realization. I'm like, maybe he's looking for feedback on ideas for Undertale or something. So,
Or just like cloud sourcing some of the biggest conspiracy theories and thinking, hey, actually, that's a really good idea for a new game. I'll make.
yeah.
Maybe.
But much mysterious, very cryptic.
Yeah. All right. Super cool. All right. Well, I have an idea. Seeing as we've got that bubbling away under the surface and we probably want somebody to keep an eye on it, Christian, why don't we put you on assignment for the rest of the episode? And you can go and keep an eye on that, let us know what goes on. And then Jam and Matt and I are going to be over here talking all about PAX and hopefully not making you jealous because you don't have to listen to the whole thing. How does that sound?
That's a very good cover for kicking me off. No. I didn't go to PAX unlike you three, so I will dip my cap and say good day.
No worries. All right, well, we'll catch back up again next week anyway to no doubt talk about a lot of fun stuff happening around this time this year. But yeah, thanks, Christian. We'll catch up with you real soon.
See you guys.
All right,
bye.
See you, man. All right, well, that leaves us with a good opportunity to do the PAX Oz 2018 report. And, unlike what we've done in previous years, we're not going to spread this one over 2 or 3 episodes. We've got so much other stuff around this time of year to talk about. We can't really afford to do that. So, but all right, we got a chance to cram in as much as we possibly can. So let's do it. Let's start with probably the first thing that we all did when we got over there, which was, of course, as per tradition, the Child's Play Charity Trivia Night. So, now, Matt, this was your first appearance at said Trivia Night. I'm really curious to hear your take on it, given that you were the newcomer relatively to this one. So, what do you think?
It's fair to say for me that this definitely wasn't the first thing I did when I got over there.
Oh, true. Actually, sorry, I do you a disservice. We should probably talk about the larger Melbourne International Games Week first. Yeah.
So like for me, the week starts off with Games Connect Asia Pacific, which is basically a development conference where a whole bunch of game developers get together, talk about video games. It's got a bunch of networking events and everything like that. The trivia night actually took place on the last day, I think, of GCAP. And there's actually an awards night on that night. And I was like, this year, I'm like, you know what? The awards night is super loud and it's filled with alcohol and boisterous game developers. I'm going to go to a trivia night instead and be a total nerd. And I can't say I have any regrets because it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's the best. It's the best. Ewan and Owen outdid themselves yet again. It was the smoothest, most amazing trivia night so far. Yeah. And the loot haul was incredible.
Oh, yeah. The amount of stuff that they're giving away was nuts.
Yeah.
But I got there before everybody else. And I sat down at the table. And I'm looking at the stuff that's on the table. I'm like, there's Play-Doh on the table. I'm going to have a good night.
Yeah. That's the art challenge.
Yeah,
it was superb. Again, as always, my favorite round was Truth by Consensus, where you have to pick the popular answer to a question, not necessarily the correct one. It wasn't quite as argumentative as previous years, though.
No.
I mean,
a little disappointing. I mean, you saw us yelling, but that was mild by comparison to some of the other ones we've been to.
Mimo is still wrong that, the whole warm toilet seat being worse than wet socks. It's absolutely wet socks.
I agree. I just don't understand what she was thinking.
Hang on a minute. Were you guys in the warm socks being the wet socks being
wet
worse?
Socks.
Yeah, we were with wet socks.
Yeah. Okay.
They're persistent.
Yeah. No,
warm
I
toilet
agree.
seats, suddenly you're warm after a couple seconds.
I can't remember what I voted for. I was drinking way too much at that
point. They were great hosts. It was just superb, but they snuck in a question right at the end of Truth by Consensus, which was Ewan or Owen. And we all went, oh, God.
Yeah, pick between the two hosts.
Most people did the smart thing and wrote down both.
Yep. Not us, though. We picked one.
We're an idiot. And idiots? We are idiots. No, we picked Ewan because he does so much work pulling it together.
Yeah.
It's such an incredible night, and I hope I never, ever miss one.
Yeah. And I shouted out neither.
Every now and then the audience sort of picks an answer that isn't one of the responses sort of presented, and we got a great example of that where they asked hard taco shell or soft shell,
soft burrito.
Yeah, to which of course everybody answered Jam. What?
Porque no lo estás?
Yeah, exactly.
So that was gold.
And yet they were surprised. I don't know how they could have been. Anyway.
I know, and they're going to drop they've been dressing as Jamie and Adam from Mythbusters for years since it started, and they're going to change it up next year. So they're taking suggestions on the Twitters. I don't have their details here. But look it up and send them through suggestions. They're happy to gender bend as long as they don't have to shave their beard.
I was going to say, I was thinking about it that night. I'm just saying right now, Jesse and James.
Oh, that'd be great.
Ooh, from
That would be
Pokemon.
so great.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. Yeah, there's a lot of good ideas there. I think the Facebook thread has got a bunch of them at the moment. If you just search for CPT Oz, you should be able to find all the details there. But
Yeah.
it's
And check it out
super good.
next year if you're in Melbourne, because it's the bomb.
All right, well, sort of aside from that, I mean, GCAP stuff, Matt, you actually did get involved in at least one talk. So how did the rest of that go?
Oh yeah, the talk was really good. I actually completely forgot I did a talk.
Yeah.
I was on a panel with a bunch of other very, very talented people and award-winning people, and basically we're talking about serious games. And this whole, we're basically being asked questions about how we would approach things about serious games, or what got us interested in making them in the first place. And the whole idea basically is that we actually saw a big theme this year about serious games. And to basically give people some idea as to what a serious game is, it's basically any sort of game that has an outcome, like you learn something from it, or it changes your mind about something, or maybe you come away with a bigger interest for something, right? Like if you look at Kerbal Space Program, that is absolutely a serious game. It is basically a simulation about getting into space, and just because it has some silly aspects to it and everything doesn't necessarily mean it's not a serious game.
Yeah.
And so we were discussing that. We were talking about this whole idea as to whether or not serious games should actually be called serious games, and the panel was basically mostly in agreement that serious games is a terrible term for it. It's just what the industry most when I say industry, like, so anybody that's a client for us coming in and saying, hey, we want a serious game, they understand what serious game means. It's all like gamification. The games industry hates the word gamification because it's terrible and it doesn't actually get across what we do. It makes it sound silly, but
it's the industry identified terminology for it. I totally get it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, that was really, really good. I have to give a shout out to one of my good friends as well, Hien, who did a game that won a Australian Game Developers Award. And oh god, I can't actually remember the. It will be hard.
Yep.
Yes. You heard about it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Hien, not originally from Australia. I think Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry, Hien, if I got that wrong. And he relocated to Perth. And made this game, just basically a visual novel type thing, and ended up winning an award from it. I'm super, super stoked. Like, he absolutely deserved it.
Yeah,
he totally earned that. And it was just a really, for me, it was a really chilled, laid back GCAP this year. Simply because I wasn't going to the after parties and everything like that. I went to trivia night and I went out and did tabletop the other night. So I was like, yeah, no, I love you guys, but you go off and do your drinking thing, and I'm just going to go over here and be a nerd.
Yep, that's fair. Oh, the other big thing that sort of came out of the week as well at the, I don't know if it was announced at GCAP or the awards presentations, but the news that Tony Reid was going to be heading up a new division of Epic Games in Australia and New Zealand. So,
yep.
Yeah.
There was that, and there was also the news that Steam is finally getting Australian currency.
Yeah! That's good news. Long time coming. Absolutely.
It's been a very eventful week.
No, it's been massive. All right. Well, if anyone wants to see that talk, is there a place on YouTube where that's going to be uploaded as VOD content? Is that going to be a thing?
Yes. I'm pretty sure that if you look up Games Connect Asia Pacific on YouTube, there should be a account. If you actually go there, you can go and watch my talk from last year as well that we did about this serious game that we made called Safety Beach for this Rail Surf Lifesaving Association in WA. But that should pop up there in like the next month on that account on YouTube. Yep.
Once people have gotten home and got over any PAX Pox and got their lives back in order.
Yep.
Fair enough. All right. Well, let's just cover a brief bit of general con stuff before we dive into the specific games that we played. So I think it's safe to say that it was a very, very successful PAX. I did speak briefly to Luke Lancaster over the weekend, and he was sort of describing the numbers for the Saturday in particular being in excess of anything that they had before, so that was real positive. We got to see a bunch of fun stuff. One of the first things we did, of course, on Friday night was we actually got to check out the live stage show version of the game that we've discussed recently, which you, of course, have worked on, Matt, which is the Dark Room. So seeing the whole thing live, man, really hammers home what that game is all about.
Yeah. Dying.
Absolutely.
Yes, in hilarious, absurd ways.
So
mind you, like, unfortunately, we can't give out ridiculous prizes every single time you die.
No.
I still have just the beans. Just the beans. It just that
Yeah,
keeps
the
on going
prize
through my head now
giveaways
and
were
then.
classic.
Oh yeah.
So
Australian
one,
too,
one
some
lady
of them.
won a tin of baked beans without the tin.
Yeah.
And then a couple of players later, one of the ladies won the tin. Oh man, that was funny. So yeah, it was good. It was good. It was absolutely thrilling to see John Robertson in live and hilarious form, cataloging
Yes.
the entire audience. So
Yeah.
it was good.
The funny thing as well was the Outback Darren, the guy that was Outback Darren, actually came by the darkroom booth later on, and actually was playing the video game, which is really really funny.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
I like that we had
my
a Horizon Zero Darren.
Yes, I was gonna say that was my absolute favorite
There was
Darren.
a chick
Horizon
dressed
Zero
as
Darren.
Aloy, and it was just miraculous. He went, "You will be Horizon Zero Darren," and everyone went, "Oh!" Like he prepared it the whole time.
Yeah, that was great. All right, I had my appearance on the AGPN Party Mode panel, which was the Australian Gaming Podcast Network. So we got up on stage and had to play a whole bunch of games competing against each other. So our team, the Axis of Audio, consisting of myself, Mitch Lowe from Pixel Sift, and Andrew Natoli from the Inconsolables. So we had a good crack at it. Ended up making it into the final after doing really well at Party Crashes, and we didn't actually get to play the other game that was on stage, which was Lethal Lawns. Which, man, I want to check that out. That looked hilarious. So basically, it was like a lawnmower combat across a busy city
It was
street.
great.
Yeah.
But that was reserved for the losers.
That's it, yeah. Instead, for the winner bracket, we had to compete in a final round of Nidhogg 2, after which I put up a valiant fight and got smashed. So, yeah, we came second, or lost, as I could say.
Luke was robbed.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you were the first losers, not
it.
the third losers.
Oh man, look, I still had it for a while and then just lost a couple of real bad jumps and yeah, it didn't work out. So,
that pit, you kept finding it.
It's a hard game. It's a really hard game. I do want to play
that
some
was
more
so
of it.
entertaining though.
Yeah. I mean, the whole point is just trying to put on a bit of a show and entertaining everybody, and that I think we all succeeded. So, big shout out to my fellow podcasters from our network. So that was a real good time. I mean, what else did we get up to? Jam, you and Matt bought a whole bunch more dice, which just blows my mind how much money you're willing to throw at that stuff.
Yeah, so the Level Up Dice booth had leveled up. Last year, I think they had a display, like displays down two sides of a smaller booth. This time they had this one enormous one with displays around the whole thing, just a full 360. Everything from wood, bone, metal, stone. I ended up getting opalite, precious stone dice, because they were gorgeous. And that's only because Ari got the other blue sparkly shiny ones that I also really liked. We spent a while there. It was really fun taking a friend who's just got into D&D to a Level Up booth for the first time. The jaw dropped. It was just,
Yep. D&D is
lots
just
of
books.
money.
It's a super cheap hobby compared to some of the other options out there until you see the dice.
yeah. They also stock wormwood stuff now too. So,
Yeah.
Like, and not only that, like when it comes to D&D, like the moment you start going down the rabbit hole of actually, getting your own figures and painting them, like that's even worse.
see, luckily we have Ollie for that in our group. I don't have my own figures, but I've got so many dice now, and more on the way from Wormwood.
So, Matt, any purchases that you'd like to own up to?
I bought from the Level Up dice as well. Like, I literally went there this year, and I was like, I'm not going to buy any dice. I already have a whole bunch. And I showed everybody a picture on my phone of, here's my dice collection. I have like 12 or 13 sets of different colored dice from a variety of different places. I've got some more on the way from a Kickstarter I backed for Kraken dice, because they have a bunch of really, really pretty dice there. But then, of course, people start coming back from the Level Up dice booth with all these really nice crystal dice. I'm like, God damn it, I'm going to have to go over there. And so I wandered over. I ended up buying a set of the clear quartz dice.
Oh, yeah,
they're
they're
just
lovely.
incredibly pretty. I was torn between a variety. I didn't want to buy ones that anybody else had, but the clear quartz were nice and clean and yeah, just really, really nice to look at. I would never actually roll them. I will just look at them.
It's not the having though, Matt. It's the getting that matters.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And now they can just sit on a shelf somewhere in their box and get a dust. It'll be fine.
Yeah, fantastic. Just roll them once a year so they don't run out of their luck. That's all good.
Yeah, exactly.
Another cool thing in the tabletop section is this year they started a co-laboratory area where people who are developing their own little board games can play test with anyone who wanders on by and wants to give it a crack, I guess. I was only there briefly to check out one game, which was called Mimo Island, which looked amazing. I didn't play, but the rest of the crew were playing while I ate voraciously because I was starving. And it was adorable, and they were taking live feedback on anything the playtesters wanted to share. So I think it's a wonderful idea. I'm so glad they did it, and next year I think I want to try and get down there a little more often. They had they could book sections of time. I think there were sort of 2 segments each day that they could book to have a table there to playtest with people passing by. So some games that were there in the morning weren't there in the afternoon. And it was just really, really great to see these people excited about sharing their games. It was neat.
One of the things I really love about that concept as a whole, and I think I said this to Matt with regards to PAX Rising, the indie sort of video game area of the con, is that it really breaks down the barriers between the general public and the designers and allows you to actually have that dialogue and chat to them about the logic behind the game's design. Yeah. So, yeah, it's awesome. And big ups to Luke Lancaster, obviously sort of PAX content manager for PAX Oz, because I believe that was his brainchild that had been sort of rolled out for the first time this year.
That's really neat. Yeah, because I'm saying right now, like I've still got that dating card game thing that I talked about ages back. I will totally work on that, and I will take it next year if it's there. I will totally take it.
That's a great idea. Yeah. Nice. And last but not least, we also had the Omegathon, which of course takes place over the entire weekend. Jam, you got to see at least one of the rounds, which had a game that we'll talk about in a little bit. The final this year, played on the main stage during the closing ceremony, was a round of Street Fighter 2 Turbo on the original SNES Classic. And it was a lot of fun to watch, really, really close. It was a best of 4, which means that 7 rounds total got played. Hang on, no, I've got that wrong. Best of 7 means that you had to get 4 wins, so 7 rounds were played. Yeah, first of 4. The final round, in like epic fashion, both players decided to have a bit of a chuckle and make it interesting, and they both chose Zangief, which is one of the worst fighters in that game. So, yeah, it was good. And it came down to the very last punch, and it could have been anyone's match at that point. It was real close. So, yeah, it was good. But yeah, Megathon, a lot of fun to watch. Let's talk about actual games. So, we were fortunate enough on Friday to get a whole bunch of good big publisher games played before things got too nuts. So let's kick off with our first impressions of Rage 2, which was the first thing that we jumped on. So, Matt, what were your thoughts on Rage? I know you were coming away with a lot of stuff to say.
Okay, yeah. So when I went and played Rage, I wanted to play Rage first because there's seeing it looks interesting, but I wasn't sold on it because I wasn't a huge fan of Rage 1. So I went into this being basically like, I don't expect to like it. And then I walked away going, okay, so we have the momentum from the most recent Doom. We have the powers from Destiny. We have the comedy of Borderlands and the gunplay of Wolfenstein. Why was this game not out sooner?
Is there a better combination you can think of, really? That ticks every box. Yeah.
It's so good. Like, I literally started the demo off going, I'm not going to like it. I'm expecting not to like it. And then I left it going, I need to go and pre-order this right now because I need this in my life. It's so good. Like, I love Destiny. I love the gunplay in Destiny, but you play Rage 2 when you pick up the shotgun and the bodies, like you and I, Luke, we have talked about this a bunch over the last week about how good the ragdoll is.
Yeah.
But I've never played a first-person shooter where you got a shotgun that made it feel super powerful, that when you shot somebody, they just got flung off their feet. and just get thrown off balconies and into walls and leave gigantic cracks on the walls just because you shot them with a shotgun. That's so satisfying.
It's like the thing from the new Doom. Like, as the Doomslayer, you feel like the most powerful motherfucker in the room, and this gives you exactly the same feel. Like, you are deadly, and you know it. Yeah, it's great. Jen, what did you think of it?
I agree with everything. I was underwhelmed by the first Rage, just very underwhelmed. This was a riot to play. The playtest was awesome. It was a little hard to locate for some people because the signage wasn't great. It was just like on some desks at the AMD section, and the actual signage was on the bottom of the desks, which the queue blocked off.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of folks missed it. But yeah, super satisfying. The gunplay is awesome. And then the powers are just fun.
Why is the buzz around this game such a sleeper at the moment? Like, this thing is like, if it gets its due, it's going to be a hit. It plays so goddamn well. So
yeah. I reckon
Curious.
it's kind of a sleeper because of the fact that Rage 1 was not good. And this is another one of those situations where it's like, maybe they should have just dropped the Rage name and just given it this is just a brand new game. Right, post-apocalyptic and everything, whatever. But just we don't need the Rage brand recognition because the brand recognition on Rage is not good. Right?
Maybe, but that might have drawn a different kind of scorn if you're going for all the same themes.
It's not the first time that Bethesda has turned around and reinvented a franchise, though. I mean, look at Prey. That's a great example. And I mean, even Doom 3 was not that good. Like, it was a pretty bad game, all things considered. And they've completely reinvigorated that franchise. So the next time Bethesda, and by extension id, announce a reboot of any old game franchise that we have forgotten about, I will be sitting up and paying attention. Yeah.
Maybe franchises.
Yeah, but maybe rather than actually calling it Rage 2, they should have just called it Rage, right? Like, just start over. Let's start over fresh.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, well, we also got to look at pretty much the most impressive booth setup of the entire con, which, amazingly, again, given the nature of the game and the fact that this isn't one of the AAAs that we've been talking about all year, it was the Hitman 2 booth. So they actually, this is the most genius bit of marketing I saw at the entire show. So they actually had a way to shave time off the line, because part of the front of this thing was a giant barbershop where you could actually come in and have your head shaved to look like Agent 47 and have the barcode temporary tattoo put on the back of your neck. And then you got to skip the main queue to actually go inside and play the game. That is the funnest, smartest thing I've seen at PAX maybe ever, because after that point, you've got a whole bunch of Agent 47s walking around the entire event, basically as living idols of marketing for this goddamn awesome game. So
it was clever.
I actually kept count of how many people I saw with shaved heads and barcodes on the back of their neck.
Oh, really?
I got to 5.
Yep. They had photos
there were
on the
always
front of
bums
it.
in seats when I went past.
Yeah.
At least one.
Yep. Exactly. And there were people who were actually lining up to have the head shave at times where the line wasn't that big. So,
and seriously, they should come back again next year, even if they don't have another Hitman, and they should do the same thing and give all the hair to that charity that takes the hair donations.
Oh, yes.
Do it again. just make it for a good cause. Because that would be really good.
It's almost a shame around the time of year that Rage 2 is releasing, because they could almost do the same thing for that, but just to get people styled up into giant pink mohawks instead.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Was it you and me, Luke, that were talking about this whole idea of that Rage 2 should have had a color run to actually go and play it?
Yes.
That would have been so fun.
I don't know how you contain that at PAX. It's pretty messy.
No, the organisers don't like stickers at PAX, let alone coloured powder.
Yeah. But, oh, man, that would have been great. Yeah, totally. It's not someone will do a YouTube thing for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, the game itself, I mean, we got to play a bit of... now, a memory might throw me here, but I think it was a Rio level. Rio de Janeiro?
Yes.
Yeah, so giant car race that was going on, and you have to go in and actually assassinate a tech mogul whose company apparently has been dealing in banned weapons and, committing war crimes through these underhand dealings. And his daughter, who also is involved in all this stuff, and she's actually a race car driver. So you have to find him in like a building surrounded by armed guards. And his daughter is actually sort of, in a race car on the racetrack zooming around. And she's obviously pretty hard to get to because of that reason. So, what was your experience with that like, Matt? You seem to be mucking around with some fun stuff.
So the two characters, like, you've got this Tony Stark-esque guy that's selling missiles and shit, and then you've got his daughter that's racing cars. From what I saw, there's another racer that looks very much like Agent 47. Just like the whole idea of being able to go and take that racer's uniform, get in the car and drive her off the road to kill her, that would be hilarious and amazing. But when I started playing the demo, get in there, have the voiceover tell me, we've left your guns down in the car park. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to head down there. I haven't got anywhere else to be, otherwise I'm just going to wander around this map aimlessly. And I head down there, and it pops up, and it tells me, hey, there's some possible leads nearby. I'm walking down, and here's this guy in this pink flamingo uniform, mascot outfit. He's basically on the phone talking about how he's knocked out the other guy that was wearing the pink flamingo outfit, and that, but he's lost his keys to the car, and if he can't get into the car, that means he can't get the evidence, and if he can't get the evidence, that means no blackmail money. It's like, okay, so this is a neat little thing, just on the way to the car park to get my weapons. So, of course, I just had to knock this guy out and take the pink flamingo suit, so now there's two people knocked out that were supposed to be wearing this damn suit. Apparently it's super important. Like, he wanted it, so therefore I wanted it. Yep. Went and collected my guns and then just started walking around in a pink flamingo suit. Had a good day. Nice.
Plenty of place to hold a weapon, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But no, the game is really, really, really good. Like, I was a huge fan of Hitman. I didn't play the most recent one. But Blood Money, I played the shit out of Blood Money. I played so much of it. And this has just made me nostalgic for that. Like, it feels so much like it. But yeah, I'm super looking forward to where this can go. And the levels are just open and packed with content. Like, there's so many NPCs in there. I think one of the demonstrators was saying that they had like over 1,000 different faces in just that level alone. Just some ridiculous number. It's insane. Well, it's crazy.
The Hitman panel that they had on the weekend, which they actually did twice, was called Hitman 6 Million Ways to Die. And like, I don't know who actually ran the numbers on that, but it doesn't seem like it's out of the realms of possibility. There's so many ways to like screw up or succeed on those missions. So the episodic Hitman reboot of a couple of years ago was one of my favorite games of that year. Like, I loved the hell out of it because of how much stuff you could do and get away with them. And this is, just more of a good thing. Not to mention the Sean Bean stuff that we talked about recently. I don't know if we did mention that. He's going to be one of the elusive targets sort of coming up in the franchise real soon. So, obviously Sean Bean being killed, bit of a meme, works really well. So,
well, it'd be even funnier if he doesn't get killed in this. It's impossible to kill Sean Bean.
Yeah.
Or he gets killed repeatedly. He just keeps popping up.
Yeah, you actually, maybe he'll be the first target that you actually have to kill multiple times to finish a level. Something like that.
Like, you take him out once and you see him get put into an ambulance, then you have to take out the ambulance.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Be so good. So at this panel, they mentioned that apparently one of the more interesting ways to actually complete that level is you can actually creep up onto the roof, lure the dude out onto the balcony, and actually push him off the balcony onto the racetrack when his daughter's driving past, and make her collide and die with him at the same time. So they didn't actually manage to pull it off, but that sounded amazing. So, oh man, all right. So Hitman 2, that's real good. Again, there's a theme here. Just about everything we played was really freaking good. Jam, throw one in. What do you got?
Okay. One of the ones I went and saw relatively early was Trials Rising at the Ubisoft booth.
Trials.
I love Trials games. They are stupid fun. And I had a lot of fun revisiting that love, working through some kooky single player levels. Then I discovered a new thing, and I don't know if it was in the previous Trials, which I didn't get, but you can play the levels on a tandem bike, which means you and a second player each control 50% of the lean and the power. which means you need to coordinate superbly. So I tried it briefly with someone who hasn't played Trials before, and I got a little shitty.
I was going to say.
Because it was very frustrating.
Trials friendship ender is what it sounds like.
Yeah. So I handed my controller to our other friend and went over to a free screen so I could solo play a little more and crack the levels that they had.
Yeah.
But the Tenderbyte thing, I cannot wait to play that with my brother. We've both played a lot of this game. He's much better than me, so he's going to get irritated immediately. But if we could figure out how to coordinate, because you have to stop precisely, then accelerate, lean back, and then forward to jump precisely. Like, it took them, in the time I finished a level, I think they passed 2 jumps.
Yeah.
It's insane, but it looks like it will be hilariously entertaining.
So,
Wait,
Jam, you
cannot wait.
You know I love you like family, but I will not play Trial Tandem with you.
We would murder each other, Luke.
Oh,
There would be just blood and viscera, and it would be most unfortunate.
Wow, that could talk.
It'd be mutual annihilation too.
Yeah, no, I would. I think I probably want to do myself in by the end of that.
Yep.
All right, so
Most likely.
I played a little bit of Devil May Cry 5, which was a pleasant surprise. I've not actually played any Devil May Cry games, so I can't really offer a informed comparison between recent entries and this one. But suffice to say, I'll be buying this game when it comes out because holy shit, it was a bunch of fun. It was real cool. So
You looked like you were having a lot of fun.
it was great. It was a very anime brawler. You know, a lot of running around, throwing superpowers. You know, firing gunshots, and you know what I would imagine to be Souls-like combat action. Lots of giant demonic creatures sort of infesting the different alleyways of the city that you're in. The whole aesthetic really spoke to me. I love the hell out of it. The character looked great. So yeah, I mean, if that's your thing, I think what I've probably just described is describing a typical DMC game. I'm not sure, but it was good. That's all I can say, really. Really, really brief look at Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I kind of deliberately didn't play too much of this because I want to just absorb it when it comes out. But yeah, that was looking real good. There seemed to be quite a few weapons added to the Ori and the Blind Forest sort of get-up, which we'd already seen quite a bit of. So what'd you
Ori's
think?
abilities looked neat. I only managed to get a few minutes in though because it was very early on and they were having issues with the connection between the controller and the boxes because of the signal interference in the room. So they had to rush off and grab some cables.
Yeah.
But it was just so smooth and wonderful playing Ori again. I'm 100% getting that game.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to be out earlier than we thought too, which is cool.
Oh, really?
Early next year, I think, was the talk.
Oh, yay, I didn't notice that.
There you go. All right, well, Matt, let's talk about what possibly would be game of the show for a few people, us included. Take it away.
Except it's not a game. It's a goddamn game engine running on PS4, and nobody will convince me otherwise.
This is true.
Yeah, no, Dreams. They had a tech demo basically on the show floor at PAX, which was surprisingly not. They weren't squeezing in people. Like there wasn't actually much of a line for it.
We got
which is really
there, and there was a
disappointing.
dome full of beanbags with nobody in there, and we are like, sure, we'll sit down and take a load off and wait for this cool presentation.
Yep.
And I cannot believe this thing was not packed because the things we saw. Wow. Yeah.
Like everything that you were seeing in there that it could do, they literally said like if every tool that we need to go and make a AAA game is in here. Like you can go and code stuff and leave comments in the code. You can go and have a complete repository of all the stuff that you've done so you can work with other people, which means that if they make a change that breaks something, you can actually revert to a previous version of it. They've got stuff in there like timelines and such that allow you to go and animate scenes like cutscenes. You can go and make your own music. You can go and record audio. One of my friends pointed out that they would not be surprised at all if you can use the PlayStation camera to take photos for textures.
Yep.
Like, it's a game engine. It's a game engine running on PS4.
and an accessible one. Like the level of difficulty associated with a lot of the design tools didn't look. I mean, it can go much beyond this, but like the basic level of it was not that far apart from like a Mario Maker. So if you want to just make stuff at that level that's not overly complex, you know, I mean, kids will be able to get into this and you know, experiment with the basic tools. But if you want to go freaking crazy, you can. It's, oh man, yeah.
Yeah, like this whole idea of, okay, well, I can make a game where I can go and completely make my own character models and rig them up, make them move the way I want, give them their own powers, make them move at their own speeds, and then put that into a game where I've made every single asset in the game world and I've coded everything up and I've made the music myself. Like, you can totally do that. Or you can just go and pull assets that other people have made into it and just go and make a game from that. And that's not at all unlike working inside of Unreal or Unity, right? Like, if you want to make your own fully fledged game, you would go out there and you'd either create the assets yourself or you'd go and pay somebody else to make assets for you. Or if you weren't really caring about that stuff, or even a bunch of larger companies actually still go out and buy asset store assets, right? Like, there's a couple of games out there that's doing that at the moment. It's not that unusual to just go and pull somebody else's assets and just slap it into a game. So the whole idea they were talking about remixing levels, and that some levels you can just go and remix, so you can just go download them and start tinkering around with them, or use them as a basis to start from something. Like, it's nuts. It's absolutely insane. It's no surprise it's taken so long, and I'm honestly kind of surprised and also a little bit annoyed that Sony's not showing off more of it, because this game should have people going nuts, and it's, again, one of those ones where it's kind of quiet about it at the moment.
I mean, it might just be that careful pacing thing they have been doing with some of the big releases this year. Maybe get its time to shine, perhaps. I mean, Spider-Man's still fairly fresh in the rear mirror, so I don't know. It's, oh man, and not to mention everything getting the hell out of the way of all the Red Dead buzz as well. So that's probably a thing too. But I was amazingly impressed. The fact that you can buy this as a game, and just because of all the cloud shared content that everyone's going to be generating, you could be able to sort of download infinity numbers of other people's creations. I mean, you have to look at what's been happening this year with, some of the sharing of No Man's Sky sort of creations, and, the various different photo mode sort of creativity that's been going around. When people actually get into this thing and start experimenting with a full selection of tools, sky's the limit on what is actually going to come out of this. It's going to be just below your mind sort of level of awesome. So yeah.
And they were saying it is actually going to come with a single player storyline as well, with a whole bunch of different narratives that are somehow interconnected.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So it will come with a game that they've made inside of it as well.
Yeah. So there you go. Dreams. Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it was full when I went past every time. You guys lucked out.
I think we did, actually. What did we go on Sunday or Saturday? I can't remember.
We went on Sunday.
Yeah, it was one of the quiet times. We were trying to cram in everything that we'd miss. Yeah. So Jam, you actually got to play some Overwatch on a truck, which looked like fun.
Yeah. Yeah, the Omen booth had a big old truck parked up the back of it, and you walked up, well, you queued, and then you queued again, and then you walked up into it, and they had a bunch of their laptops set up running Overwatch 6v6. You were only able to play one half. Sadly, our team absolutely rinsed the other team, so we played for about 3 minutes. But it was good fun. The sensitivity on the mouse was way up, so that was interesting. But yeah, it was nice to play on the laptops. It was very smooth, very smooth. And while we were queued up, well, in both of the queues, they had we watched other people playing a couple of cool things. They had Forza there, which looked gorgeous, as Forza does. And they also had a wingsuit demo game where they actually had a rig set up so that you laid down and tilted it to control your character in the wingsuit on screen, which was hilarious to watch. And looked a bit uncomfortable, but pretty crafty, rather creative. So that was fun. It was just fun playing Overwatch at PAX.
Yeah.
But not go into a tournament because that's just way too time intensive.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I did on the big publisher side was watch Mimo and Erin play Pokemon Let's Go. They queued up for ages, and then I ran along just before they got in and said, "Can I tag along to take photos?" And it looks so cute. So cute. I've not played much of any Pokemon games, but it was rather adorable watching them run around. And they were using the Pokeball controller too, which has the clickable joystick up top.
Yeah, Imogen was really impressed with it. Yeah.
And the one button below. Yeah. And she showed me, she said, "Oh my God, look," when she threw her Pokeball and successfully caught, or even unsuccessfully, the Pokemon, it would rumble and do the light up like it does the 3 times before it clicks. to confirm that you've caught the Pokemon. So she was very skeptical going in about that controller, thinking it was just superfluous, money grab peripheral.
Yeah.
And she left intending to buy it 100%. She
That's
said
really
it was
cool.
just surprisingly intuitive, really well designed, and adorable, well themed.
I didn't realize that
game.
the little circle on top of it was a thumbstick as well.
Yeah. So that's how she was getting around.
That's super cool.
It just genius. And for the game that it is, for the simplicity of what's involved, it's enough.
Yeah. Like,
You
when I was walking past, I think one of the funniest moments at PAX was when I was walking past that booth, and I realized that on the trailers that they were showing, like, you can have any Pokemon out wandering around and following you, and then in
Yes.
the trailer, they had a Mr. Mime following this small child around. I'm like, well, that looks creepy.
Oh, yes.
super creepy.
Super creepy.
The most adorable thing was at one point I turned to my left while Mimo and Erin were playing on the two screens, and there's this little white picket fence around the edge of the whole booth, and the queue lined up around it, so it just wrapped around. And right at the corner where the wall met the picket fence, there was this little girl, she must have been about 7, just craning her neck around and setting her chin on the picket fence so she could watch Mimo play. And she was just enraptured, and it was just so cute.
Aww.
So cute. So yeah, these games are going to be huge.
Yeah.
I love it.
No doubt.
All right, well, we really need to rip through some indie stuff now because we're going to run short on time if we don't get a move on. So let's go with rapid pace through Necrobrewster. So Matt and I get to try out Necrobrewster, which has appeared at PAX before but is getting much closer to release now. I think it's out in 2019. So a very interesting narrative-based game set in like a sort of an underground Melbourne setting where basically the main character is a necromancer who brews souls into coffee. And services like a coffee shop called The Terminal, which is like a meeting place for the departed and the living as well. So from what I understood. Really interesting sort of mechanic around words that you pick up in conversations, and you kind of store those words, and whichever words you've got stored unlock different sort of different sections of the game narrative. So yeah, Matt, you know more about this because you know the people involved than I do, but
So I know one of the writers, and I think one of my favorite comments that you made, Luke, was that the game's so Australian. Like it's written in a way that uses a lot of Australian words and like sentence structure. You don't really notice that until you actually play it. But yeah, like when I was playing it, I'm like, whereas the game feels more linear than I was expecting. Like I was kind of expecting to pick it up and have the typical narrative game thing of here's 4 options, pick one. But it doesn't do that at all. It's this whole thing about selecting keywords and then kind of managing this hand of like 5 keywords, and those things can unlock and change outcomes later on in the story. We didn't see that in the demo, but it was heavily hinted at. Well, also just completely stated on screen that this will happen. The game takes a very sudden twist later on, where you just get to wander around inside the cafe and investigate a couple of objects in there. The idea is great. Like it's a really, really neat idea because what's more Melbourne than coffee, right? And these little cafes.
The game is hipster as fuck. It really is.
It's hipster as fuck. But then the opening cutscene is super anime, and I love it. Like the artist is fantastic. Like she's done a really, really great job at giving the game this really unique look. That's like, what if Australia did anime?
Absolutely,
I love that.
Yeah, so that was Route 59 Games, I believe is the company name. So coming out early next year, multiple platforms by the look of it. This thing, I think, is coming to Switch too, which is cool because I think that'd be a really good platform for it. So, yeah. All right, so what else? We had Soundfall, which, again, was a really cool-looking rhythm game where you have a bunch of characters sort of operating as a party. Top-down view, very similar to a Diablo-esque sort of setting. with monsters sort of roaming around, and you basically going to the beat, trying to do damage to them with a sword and pistol, but powering yourself up if you actually manage to move to the beat, which is actually represented not only by like a rhythm bar down the bottom of the screen, but every bit of terrain and sort of glowy tiles on screen were actually keeping pace with the beat as well. So you manage to keep in sync with that. You power up everything that you've got basically, and it looked like a lot of fun. It was very cool. Jan, did you actually play, or did you just get to see it?
Yep.
Yeah.
I played with Memo, and it was wild fun. It's by Drastic Games, and I love it because it's rhythm and it's a fun little brawler, and dashing and bopping and pewing to the beat was really, really cool.
Nice. Yeah. Boomerang Fu, which you saw at the first Omegathon round?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So they actually locked down the display on the floor because it was Omegathon round 1 game, which happened a couple of hours into PAX, and then it was a free-for-all. Wildly entertaining to watch in the Omegathon round. Basically, you've got 4 players on screen as tiny little foods on this top-down little level where you just hurling boomerangs at each other. You can have them level up to do different things like leave a fire trail or explode on impact. You can tell them when to return to you, so you can pull back at strategic times, which I was rubbish at, to try and slice in half your opponent when they're not looking, thinking they'd successfully dodged it. And the levels have little things like movable parts, areas you can get knocked off into or sink in, portals that boop you around. It's really, really fun to watch. And everyone seemed to have such a great time on the floor. Everyone I saw playing it, and also at a megathon, there was yelling and screaming and stuff. The little avocado, when he got sliced in half, his little pip dropped out and then rolled across the floor. It was hilarious. It was just cute little details, just adorable.
Sounds like a great Omegathon game. Awesome.
Yeah, it really was.
Ticket to Earth. Matt, what do you remember about this one? Because I know we both played it, but I'm struggling.
Yeah, so Ticket to Earth was basically a puzzle version of XCOM.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Where you basically control a single character and you've got a whole bunch of enemies on screen. Later in the game, you can actually fight with multiple characters. But the whole idea basically being that you're trying to connect all of these different tiles to power up your abilities, and you're moving along this grid XCOM style to get up close to enemies or move into a strategic position so you can get ranged attacks on them if you're playing a ranged character. Really, really good. Like, they were demoing it on these gigantic touchscreens, and it felt so good playing on that. I don't think it would feel as good playing it on PC with a mouse, but I can't say. Like, they might have done a really, really good, smart way of making that mechanic work on PC. But I'm probably going to pick it up on my phone, possibly. I'll check the reviews for it first. Yeah, it's really, really fun. It would be an excellent Switch game. Like, if they could make this work on Switch, it'd be really good.
I am remembering a conversation I had with the dev now where, and I think I said this to you too, where on the mobile version, they actually have got it AR enabled, so you can actually project the image of the game onto like a regular surface, and it'll actually put all the tiles on there and put the symbols on the tiles so you can play it like that. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know what prompted them to do that in particular. It seemed like a really interesting idea for a feature. I'm not sure if it adds anything specific, but I mean, cool. Just one of those things. Yeah. I guess that would only be with the phone version. I don't think the Switch would be able to do. You don't have a camera on the back of the Switch, do you? No, you don't. So,
no.
Yeah, interesting. I played a little game called Scout's Honor, which was pretty cool. It's like a couch co-op where you're basically working with friends to create like a little sort of camp situation with tents and campfire and you need to source food from the environment and construct traps and things like that, and get all that done before time runs out and darkness falls. So fun little game, crafting, almost tower defense without the towers kind of thing. But things get out of hand quickly if you can't get stuff built in time and helping each other out. It's one of those sort of fun, frantic, almost like Overcooked in a way if you're camping, if that makes sense. So
that sounds actually kind of fun.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah. What was Beam's team? Jam? That was an interesting
Beam
one.
Team by No More Studios. Memo and I had a crack. It's another little fun co-op game. You basically circle a two-dimensional planet, going either left or right, or clockwise or anti-clockwise. and you have to fight off its defenses and damage its core. So you're basically an invading force, which is a bit vicious. But it was adorably cute. Like one of the planets we were circling was a giant donut. Sending out little waves of enemies, and some of the planets like protrude out. You have to learn to read the tells so that you know when to dodge and where to go. And then if your friend gets hit, you can swing around. If you successfully dodge everything, you can beam them back up so that they're back in action. That was really cute. Yeah, beam team.
Interesting.
Yeah. One of the other ones I played, I'm only kind of going to cover very, very briefly, even though the demo was anything but brief, was Ashen, where I stood basically at this console for about 10 minutes in an unskippable cutscene at PAX, which wasn't great. And then when I finally got into the game, I played for long enough to go and pick up an axe and see that it kind of had... It feels and looks a little bit like a real stylized Dark Souls. It has an inventory screen that reminds me a lot of like Diablo or Dark Souls as well. And then that was it. That's as far as I got in Ashen, because it's like I need to move on to something else. I've been here for 15 minutes and all I've done is watch a cutscene.
Oh, fair. Yeah.
That's a shame.
And the other one, which I didn't actually play at PAX, but I already own it and I just need to play it, was Damsel, which I played back in like PAX 2016. That was the first time I actually played it. It's basically this side-scrolling action game. You run around as this character. I think actually her name is Damsel. And you get like gigantic shotguns and all these other weapons and everything. You're running around these levels and shooting everyone. It feels and looks a lot like Ori in terms of how fluid the movement is and the way you move around in the levels. I was in line to actually play it, and I ended up just chatting with the dev for about 30 minutes. So it was one of those occasions where I could get a very good sense of what the game actually was just by watching other people play it and seeing their reactions, and it was very, very positive. Yeah. So I'm really hopeful for them getting some success on Steam.
Very Vampire Hunter kind of theme by the look of it. Like,
yeah.
I
you're
also
killing zombies and everything.
I also acquired this game like a week before PAX, and I still haven't played it yet. So need to load it up and have a look. Yeah. Jam, you checked out Projection, which is return sort of appearance from being on the showcase last year. Yeah.
Yep, still looks absolutely delightful. Every time I went past, it was packed, so I didn't queue up to play. But it's moving along nicely. It's by Shadowplay Studios, and it's the one where you manipulate light to create shadow to help you navigate around the levels. It just is gorgeous. It's all based on old school shadow puppetry stuff from various different countries, and I am 100% down to play it.
Nice.
Yeah. One of the other ones I went and played, because I know the dev, was Quantum Suicide. It's not really my typical kind of game.
Cool name, though. Like, props for the name.
Great name, yeah. It had, like, actually, to be fair, part of the reasons why I played it was because I was getting real Doki Doki Literature Club vibes from it.
Oh.
And Doki Doki Literature Club is also one of those games where, like, this isn't my kind of game, and then I played it, and I'm like, this is freaking fantastic. So I went and played Quantum Suicide, and basically it takes place in space, where the artificial intelligence on this spacecraft that you're on has decided that all of the humans on there are going to be killed in this game that they're going to play with this card matching thing where everybody gets dealt a card and they have to make 10 with another person on the ship. So it's all about establishing relationships and maintaining relationships with them. It's got Japanese anime style. There's a romance edge to it and everything, with this very dark murder mystery type twist that seems to be going on there with, who went and messed up the AI and convinced the AI they need to go and kill all the people on the ship. So, yeah, it was really fun to actually play with that. Like, I'm actually looking forward to the narrative. That seems really cool.
The dark.
I missed it. I have to check this out.
Yeah.
That was cool. I checked out a game called Where the Snow Settles, which was a very, very aesthetically pleasing game. Looked beautiful. It reminded me a lot of a visual cross between Never Alone, which we reviewed as part of our party games of the month last year, and Journey as well. So now I'm not sure if the gameplay quite matches that. It looked like very much a sort of run around, interact with your environment, sort of point and click adventure game. But without the humorous elements of like a Monkey Island or something like that. But yeah, very, very environmental sort of storytelling theme, and very snowy, very sort of wilderness. I didn't I don't think there's any particular cultural link like there was in Never Alone with like the the particular tribe of people, but again, it looked like it had its own sort of charm and cuteness about the art style to it. So this one I'll be keeping an eye on for when it comes out later. It was cool. Now we all played a game called Fledgling Heroes, which was a really interesting one, which Jam, you look quite enamored with when we talked to you about it. So.
I think you're mixing me up with Memo.
Oh, really? Cool.
I did not play. I watched Imogen and Aaron play it.
That might be it. Yeah. Well, Matt and I checked it out at the same time. So, it was kind of like Flappy Bird, but not shit.
Literally the dev we were talking to said it's Flappy Bird, but forgiving.
Yeah, exactly. With level creation tools as well.
Yep. So it has Mario Maker built in.
And boss fights and, all sorts of other, like, interesting elements to the levels. Like, there's treasure chests you can open up by sort of flapping down towards the ground and landing on. And you can actually defeat enemies as you go over them, sort of Mario style, by booping them from above. And they look like a lot more interactive elements than, your standard Flappy Bird kind of game. And the fact that you can actually land on a lot of the surfaces too makes it different immediately, because it doesn't mean you're always up in the air. But yeah, like, it looked like a pretty big game in terms of content. Like, there's about 50 or so levels to begin with, not even counting the stuff that you're able to create yourself. So well, fun.
Gorgeous art style, and it's coming out on Switch, and it's the perfect kind of Switch game.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was by a company called Subtle Boom. Again, really cool name for a company. So
yeah.
Jam, of course, jumped on a bit more Spin Rhythm, as you do.
Oh, my favourite.
Made it for the showcase this year, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, last year they had a little booth. They didn't have a website. It was all very early. The graphics were super simple. This year they had managed to secure one of those top 6 indie showcase spots. And they've been working on it. It looks superb. They've got a beautiful style to it now. And it's a rhythm game, and you use a deck. So I was spinning this little DJ deck in the direction it was telling me. I was matching up the colours by rotating it ever so gently back and forth. And they've added some new functions. So they've got, you can sort of boop the deck that you're spinning. When you get the right visual cues, there's another baseline thing you can tap off to the left. It was just really cool. It's even better than it was last year. I loved it immensely, even though I only got to play one song. The only criticism I have is that they only had one playable version in their booth. And that was on the DJ deck. Last year they had iPhones and iPads playing, or I should say tablets and smartphones. Playable versions of the game, and I think they intend to release next year. I'm 100% down to get it. Their song list is amazing. There's a Spotify playlist of the songs in the game that I'm listening to right now. Super awesome. Spin Rhythm by Super Entertainment. Check it out if you love rhythm games.
Nice.
Really, really cool.
I played a game called Mars Underground, which was a top-down cartoony RPG themed around like an underground sort of Groundhog Day kind of setup. So basically you are the central character named Mars, a young boy who sort of wakes up and gets sort of told to take some medication so that everything works out all right, without much more description given than that. So it sounds super sus. And then you go through and go through this particular day, picking up various clues and items as you go. And then when you're done, the day resets. You start again the exact same place, and everything goes through in the exact same way, except for whatever you've changed or picked up. And I discovered through playing the test of this game that when you die, because I ran out into traffic just to see what would happen, as you do. And when you die, you actually get given big clues about how you actually escaped this loop. So, there's some sort of weird sort of under the surface plot going on there that you eventually need to uncover. But it seemed like a really interesting idea. The gameplay in particular wasn't sort of anything, wildly out there or new, but the story stuff seemed like it would be compelling enough to check out. So that's Mars Underground with a bit of a look. I also had a look at another game on the Indie Showcase called Double Shot. Now, we talked last year about the game that made the Megathon final as the big sort of finale championship 1-versus-1 thing there, which was Cowboys versus Aliens, like a VR sort of shootout in a Wild West saloon between cowboys and aliens. Now this one looked like a very similar kind of setup, but no cowboys, no aliens. It was like a sort of shootout or 1-versus-1 combat in a bar sort of setup, but it also looked like there was drink mixing and actual serving of drinks involved as well. So I didn't quite understand how all that worked together as a cohesive whole, but it looked fun.
It looked hilarious. I was watching others play it and they just looked it looked fun.
What's that super old movie with Tom Cruise as the bartender? Oh god damn it, I forget the name of it.
Yeah,
you know the one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. So, think of that in VR with a lot more violence. I don't know.
Doesn't work, but yes.
No, it's super weird. Yeah.
The last really cute co-op game I checked out on the floor, didn't get a chance to play because there were a bunch of people playing it very happily, not wanting to get off, was called Lanterns. And it was this adorable little co-op puzzle platformer. And the way it worked, even if the whole level was confined to one screen, is that each character had a different coloured lantern in their hand that passively created a glow around them, but then they could press a button and focus a beam of it. And there were invisible blocks in the level that only became visible and tangible to jump on if the right coloured light was passing it over. So that was either player one's light, player two's, or a combination of the two, so blue and red make purple.
Okay.
And it meant that this really simple little level was suddenly required a rather complicated number of steps to get each character to where they needed to be in the right order so that they could both reach the exit or the hidden little bonus object that it looked like you could collect in each level. It was really cute to watch and adorable, a really adorable idea and interesting mechanic I don't think I've seen. So I'm going to keep an eye on that one too. It's by Artifact Assembly.
Artifact Assembly, okay.
You could also play as all sorts of creatures, like, I think, axolotls and different, it was real cute.
Well, that's an interesting choice for a creature. All right, cool. Yeah. That Tom Cruise movie was Cocktail, by the way. Just on the tip of my tongue. All right, well, that is a whole bunch of packs. I think we have to stop.
Yeah.
There are also really lots of cool board games and stuff.
Weird. Yeah. Steam Park was great.
Yes.
So many good
Steam
things.
Park was awesome. Azul was awesome as well. You should check those games out. Yep.
Kingmaker and the voting game is hilarious. You guys missed out.
Yeah.
Oh.
We almost need like a separate podcast to talk about PAX board games.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Not enough time in the week. All right. Well, anyway, that is a whole bunch of PAX. That's a whole bunch of fun. Now, it is, of course, time to very, very quickly just check back in on the Undertale Twitter account and work out what the heck's going on.
So I have been doing stuff while you two were talking about the last
brilliant.
PAX. Yeah. So they launched a website called Delta Rune, which when you open it up, it says, "Welcome. Please read these final warnings. Then take it in your hands. There may be moving or flashing imagery. You may have to override security protocols to use the program. For public safety, you are advised to refrain from discussion of the program for 24 hours, and you accept everything that will happen from now on." And it has a download. I've already had it spoiled for me as to what exactly it is.
Oh, no.
But it is actually Undertale related, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Ooh. Okay, there you go.
So it's probably going to be all over the internet by the time this episode gets released.
Yes.
But hopefully it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. From the impression I'm getting, there is a good reason why they're saying don't talk about it for 24 hours so that people can actually be pleasantly surprised by what they download. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
I will go and I will be pleasantly surprised. Nice. All right. Well, apart from that, thank you everybody for listening. That is a show. So, you can catch us at all of the usual locations. We are, of course, on Facebook. Search for Party Loaded. On Twitter at Party Loaded Show. Make sure you check out our main website, which is channelendgame.com or partyloaded.com. Both will go to the same place. YouTube content, of course, at youtube.com/channelendgame. And check out any upcoming streams that we might have on twitch.tv/partyloaded, of which Matt and I have been talking about some things that we want to stream real soon. So there are plans afoot and a hand and a head, and we'll do some stuff. Too many games to play.
Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween,
Yes,
absolutely.
body parts.
Happy Halloween, gang.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks, gang. Thanks, Jam. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Christian.
Thank you.
PAX. Thanks, PAX.
Thanks, Pax.
Thanks, PAX.
Absolutely. We'll be back next week.
320 days to go.
Yeah, not too many at all. If you haven't done PAX before, you should totally come and join us next year. That'll be a great way to spend your time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But until then, we'll be back next week to talk about more of these game things. Thanks for listening.
And cataloging.
Good night.
Yeah, cataloging.
Bye.
Good night.
The Party Loaded podcast is a Channel Endgame production. For this and more great gaming content, bookmark channelendgame.com.